Today in the news, Texas justices block a plan to allow mail voting amid virus fears, and tensions rise as Texas governor readies to lift more rules, and the city of Dallas's hospital capacity report as of the 17th. Today is May 18th, 2020, and this is Dallas Weekly News. Hello, I'm your host, Patrick Washington, and this is Dallas Weekly News. On Friday, the Texas Supreme Court blocked a lower court order that had allowed residents to vote by mail if they cite concerns about catching the coronavirus at polling places. Republican State Attorney General Ken Paxton petitioned the court for the stay after an appeals court upheld a lower court ruling last month that lifted restrictions on the mail-in voting. The stay prevents county election officials from formally taking mail-in ballot applications from voters afraid of coronavirus exposure, which they can do beginning 60 days before an election. Texas held its primary in March, and it wasn't immediately clear whether the high court would hear arguments and issue a final ruling before Election Day in November. Voting by mail in Texas is generally limited to those 65 years old and older, and for those of a sickness or physical condition that prevents voting in person. Paxton petitioned the Republican-dominated High Court after officials in some predominantly Democratic areas approved measures that would allow voters to claim a disability and request mail-in ballots if they were worried about getting sick at polling places. County officials and Texas Democrats cast Paxton's move as an effort to disrupt the election and ongoing voting cases. The Attorney General's request contends officials in counties that include Dallas, Houston, Austin, El Paso, and the border community of Brownsville have broadened eligibility to vote by mail beyond what the legislature intended. The ruling comes as the virus has deepened the partisan divide over mail-in voting, with President Donald Trump claiming it is ripe for fraud and Democrats embracing the practice as the safest way to vote during this pandemic. Conversely, Texas Democratic Party Chairman Gilberto Hinojosa called the decision a dark day for our democracy. 2 weeks into the reopening of Texas, coronavirus cases are climbing. New outbreaks still crop up, and few states are rebooting quicker than Texas, where stay-at-home orders expired May 1st. With cases still rising, including single-day highs of more than 1,400 new cases and 58 deaths Thursday, and only slightly lower Friday with 1,347 new cases and 56 new deaths reported, bringing the state's total to more than 45,000. Governor Greg Abbott has defended the pace by emphasizing that hospitalization and infection rates are steady and pointing out that Texas's 1,200 deaths still lag similarly to big states including California and Florida. The true number of cases and deaths is likely higher because many people have not been tested, and studies suggest people can be infected without feeling sick. Even so, on the cusp of even more restrictions ending Monday, including gyms being cleared to reopen, a political confrontation is growing over attempts by big cities to keep some guardrails in place. The dispute underscores the gulf between Democrats who run city halls and GOP leaders who call the shots in Texas's capital. The renewed tensions come at a moment when Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, warned Congress this week of needless suffering and death if the U.S. moves too quickly. In Georgia, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms has also expressed unease at the speed that Republican Governor Brian Kemp has reopened the state. Oklahoma lawmakers, irritated by local officials who impose stricter measures during this health crisis, passed a House bill Thursday that would weaken the power of cities during the next one. And here in Texas, Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton this week lashed out at the cities of Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio over what he called unlawful local orders that are tougher than restrictions prescribed by Abbott, and threatened lawsuits if the cities don't back off. The warning came one day after El Paso pleaded to postpone easing up on any more lockdown measures in light of the number of COVID-19 cases there surging 60% over the past 2 weeks. City leaders said their local orders, which include more stringent emphasis on face coverings in public and restaurant protocols that aren't strictly enforced, don't conflict El Paso County Judge Ricardo Samaniego, the county's top elected official, said he made this case to the governor during a phone call and asked for a few more weeks to assess data and reduce cases before more restrictions are lifted. But he doesn't think he'll get an answer before Abbott's public announcement on Monday. The spat is a reversal from the early days of the outbreak in Texas when Abbott gave cities and counties wide latitude to issue restrictions as they saw fit. But Abbott has since taken the reins over how quickly Texas will reboot, which will last week, including moving up the reopening of their salons following complaints from conservatives. Testing for most of May has fallen well short of Abbott's stated goal of 30,000 per day, although testing numbers have surged in recent days, according to state health officials. Overflow hospitals set up in Dallas and Houston were dismantled without ever being used, and the rate of new cases in Texas has dropped since April, even as testing has expanded down to a 7-day average of 5.3% as of Thursday, according to data from Abbott's office, but experts still worry. And now the City of Dallas's hospital capacity report as of May 17th, 2020. This has been Dallas Weekly News. I'm your host, Patrick Washington, and you can find these and more stories on dallasweekly.com and follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And as always, please stay safe, stay home, and we will see you tomorrow.